Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Ninja Knight. Please subscribe, please like, and please share this video. Thank you. So today we have an image that's after getting leaked out of what seems to be the next part of the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy with Kingdom. So during the week we've seen that people have decoded messages with different letters that were going through some of the packaging, which showed us that we have the letters KINGDOM. So today we have an interesting leak here for what seems to be the new poster for the third part of the War for Cybertron trilogy. Now, I think what's interesting about this is that we know Beast Wars seem to be coming now as a movie in the next couple of years. So this is interesting for a couple of reasons. It's interesting because we're going to see Hasbro regaining all of the trademarks for these names to make sure that these names are definitely in place for when they decide to proceed and go forward with the Beast Wars movie. Now, I'm unsure which characters they'll use in that movie. I think they might use the season 1 cast in particular and use them as the movie characters, which would be absolutely fantastic. But if they decide to go in a different direction, that's also fine. So we're seeing here in this poster that we can see the golden disc is front and center. We can see Optimus Prime. We can see Bumblebee. We can see here what seems to be Tigatron. We can see here for what seems to be Rattrap. This looks to be like Cheetor. And up here we have a bird flying, which I would assume is going to be Air Razor, who has after been in the leaked listing recently. So has Cheetor. We can see Dinobot from what looks like Dinobot here. We have Scorponok, so that's another trademark that they have and they've used in the last year now with this Titan Scorponok. We see Black Arachnia, and then we have this interesting image here of what seems to be a G1 Megatron head with what seems to be either a Beast War Megatron head that it's because it's purple, or perhaps maybe it's a Galvatron head. So I think this poster is really interesting, and we see over here, we can see in very, very closely, if we look closely, this seems to be a dinosaur roaring, so it seems to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it looks to be a purple one perhaps roaring. So this is throwing up some really interesting thoughts on this. So as we know with Beast Wars was a time-related show. It talked about time travel, that the Maximals and the Predacons in the fourth season, they went back in time through a time warp. This time warp took them back before the Autobot war with the Decepticons in the fourth season of Transformers. So I think for a narrative point of view, I can see a lot of people being upset with this one because it seems like that the Autobots are going to either integrate or they're going to meet the Maximals and Predacons. So this throws up a new narrative structure, I think, and it's going to be really interesting to see where it goes. Personally, I think time travel is really interesting insofar as the Transformers universe, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, whether the Maximals and Predacons will meet the Autobots and Decepticons, or whether this story will be adjacent to each other, or what way they're going to go with this. I can see a lot of fans, and a lot of fans online are pretty upset by this. I can understand why. I think, in my opinion, I think three parts of this trilogy really should have been dedicated, I think, to the G1 universe. It probably should have closed out any and all gaps that they could have done with G1 by releasing all of the original characters and the repaints and stuff. I think they're only getting so far into that now with the first two waves. I think they could have done a lot more with the Cybertronian modes for the first part of Siege. I would definitely agree with that point. The second part of Siege, when they went to Earth, there's definitely a lot more that they could play with in there in terms of releases. So I'm a bit surprised that with the third part of this now, they're gone heavy into Beast Wars. I thought they were going to go towards the movie way of looking things, that they were going to, in the third part of this trilogy, they were going to look at maybe the 86 movie and the characters that were in that and what came after the movie. So Rodimus Prime, perhaps the likes of Springer maybe making another appearance with a cleaner paint job. The same with Ultra Magnus maybe coming back with a cleaner paint job. Galvatron, the Sweeps, the Scourge, Cyclonus. But it's interesting to see that we've had listings over the last couple of months that seem to have leaked and shown us that we will be getting a Cyclonus, we will be getting Scourge. There seems to be an 86 Studio Series Dinobot Grimlock coming. There was another listing there last week with Dinobot Slag. So I think they're trying to play around, I think, now at the moment and see what they can do insofar as the 86 movie can probably go into the Studio Series and they can still use and reuse the models there, which I think is a clever idea. If they decided to use the Beast Wars in a trilogy of their own, they could go and say, right, this is all of their Cybertronian modes before they go to their beast modes, which is something that I would love to see as well. I'd love to see Cybertronian modes for all of the characters that were involved in Beast Wars, because I think it's something that Hasbro themselves missed out on. In the past, I think a lot of people clamoured for that, and they wanted to have the first, second, and third versions if they had transmetals and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see where the series goes. You know, in the first one, it looks like they're going to go with the beast mode straight away. So what's going to happen next? Are they going to continue on into transmetals, into transmetal 2s? It brings up a lot of conversation points, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Transformers and the Hasbro team do from here with this one, because it has endless possibilities, different timelines, alternate timelines, similar timelines. You could bring in some of the Japanese characters like Loyal Convoy as well too into this, which would be a really, really good idea in my opinion, and market those Japanese characters. You could also bring in characters that were in The Gathering, which is another really interesting story, and it has some characters as well too that are actually G1 characters. So as far as I know, in that story they had Grimlock and Prowl that were their G1 selves, their own sparks were used. I think that's the way that they could go. They could really branch out in this line and have a really wide-ranging line, and then it would lead us then into the movie. So that's another point of contention, I suppose, which is if they're going to have a Beast Wars movie, what's the point in doing these characters now that in a couple of years we're going to have other versions of them? I think that's one complaint that a lot of people have. But as we know from the Michael Bay movies, the Transformers don't tend to look the exact same in the movies, or they look very unlike themselves in their original intentions, which is fine. I think a bit of artistic license is good for the movies, and it helped us to differentiate the Autobots certainly, and certainly the Decepticons all had a very different look, bar the clones and the unimportant characters. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the next part of Transformers. I'm all in for anything that's Transformers 86. I hope that we get a new Hot Rod. I hope that we get a new Rodimus Prime. I hope that we get Blur and Cup, which they have seemed to be leaked already, which I think would be really, really nice to see. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe. Please like this video. Please share it. Thank you very much.